How's it going, guys? I wanted to make a quick tutorial and show you guys how to actually install these the NVIDIA drivers from the NVIDIA website properly. I know it took me some time to figure out exactly how to do this. In my case, I was trying to use Tensorflow 2.0, so I need to get these drivers in order to run the GPU version of Tensorflow on Ubuntu. So all you really have to do is just navigate to this NVIDIA drivers website and just search for your card. So in my case, it's the 900 series GTX 980 Ti. All you have to do is search for it and then download it. I already have it downloaded, so it's just going to get stored inside your downloads folder, and it'll be a .run file. I know there's a lot of videos out there that'll show you that'll tell you just to run it and just install it how it is right now, but if you do that, you're going to run into all kinds of issues because there's things that need to be disabled before you can actually install that properly. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is you want to purge all of your NVIDIA, I guess all the proprietary NVIDIA driver resources. So all you have to do is do sudo apt get, you want to purge NVIDIA, throw an asterisk on it. And once you do that, just do a sudo apt get auto remove, and so once you've done that, all you have to do is you download the driver, which we already did, and then you want to install some dependencies. So long story short, all you have to do is run this command right here, and I'll have it posted in the link description in the video description. Once you run this, it's going to install some dependencies which you need in order to actually build the files. So it's going to install build essential, GCC multilib, and DKMS. Once those are all there, that's pretty much one of the last final steps. So the next thing you want to do is you want to disable this, you want to blacklist this driver. So this causes a lot of issues, and if you don't do this, you're not going to be able to properly boot. So all you have to do is do a sudo gedit and modify a file. It's pretty straightforward. I know some people will tell you to modify a specific one. There's one that's there by default, but you don't want to edit that one because if you do update your system, there's a chance it could get overwritten and you would lose the properties you're setting now. So just make a new file. So in this case, I already have it made. You just want to make sure it ends in this .config. What do you call it? I guess suffix. Yeah, suffix. So essentially, once you do a sudo gedit on there, you want to fill up the text document with these two lines. So the first one is blacklist novio, or however you say it, and then options novio mod set equals 0. Again, this will be posted in the description as well. So once you have this, you're just going to save it off. And then what I had to do in my case was I needed to edit my my Grub file because essentially, if you don't do this, and you were to restart and try to continue with the next steps, in my case, I'd get to the login screen, but it would never actually show up. I'd end up with like a black screen or some kind of line just ticking there, and nothing would ever load. So what you want to do is navigate to your etc folder, which you just do other locations, etc, and then you want to go to default. And you're going to see this Grub file. So you want to edit that, so just open this up in the terminal. And then just do another sudo gedit, and then you want to type in grub. In this case, I put this timeout to 10. I'm only doing this because there's times you want to get to recovery mode, and if this is defaulted to 0, it's gonna skip that grub menu that normally starts up in the beginning. So I put it to 10 in the off chance something goes wrong. Then at least I have some time to get to that menu, because I know you can get there by holding shift, but in my case it would load too fast and there was no way for me to get to it, and I ended up having just to reinstall the entire system. One of the biggest things you want to do though is you want to add this no mod set right after quiet splash. If you don't do that, you're gonna get stuck at the login screen with a black screen or that ticking dash mark, and you're not gonna be able to properly install anything. And again, you want to make sure that you did disable secure boot, because if you have secure boot on, it's not gonna run right. So now that those files have been adjusted, you need to update another file, because if you don't, essentially there's a service that's getting ran, and you need to prevent it from ever running. And there's another file that has a chance of running it, but by pretty much updating those files, you can update this file just by running a sudo update and then do a dash and hit ramfs. Sorry, you gotta append it with a -u. Once you do that, it's gonna rebuild that file, and essentially that'll go through and look at that blacklist, and it essentially just update itself, so it won't end up running any of the Novio stuff. Another thing you need to do is, now every time you edit the that Grub file, you need to update the Grub 2. So you just run that command and it'll now update your Grub 2. So now by default that no mod set's going to be set to that parameter. So in other videos they have you do, go to the boot menu and then click on hit E and then have to boot it that way, but this just makes it a little bit easier. But keep in mind, if you do want to take that off later, you just go back to the file, take it out, and then rebuild this Grub 2 file with this command. So that's it for that. Another thing is, so I'm going to reboot, so I won't be able to record my screen, so I'm going to have to do it off my phone. But essentially, again, you want to make sure secure boot is turned off, and I'm going to show how to turn it off right after this. But another thing is, when you get to the login screen, you're going to want to do Control Alt F3. If you do Control Alt F1, it'll bring up a terminal as well, but you're going to be at the incorrect level. Then you're going to have to switch down to run level 3, and then have to stop some kind of service. It's called like light DM. So this is where it's saying to stop a light DM service. That's going to happen if you're pretty much going to have to run this command if you don't get to the right run level. So if you just do Control Alt F3, it'll put you in the third run level, and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and you can just install the thing. So just take my word for it. Just do Control Alt F3. Okay. Just going to go through the steps with you guys. It'll be a little bit different for me because I already have it installed. So the first thing is you want to get to your BIOS, and in my case, I just hit F12, and I just go to Enter Setup. You need to turn Secure Boot off, because if you don't turn Secure Boot off, you're gonna have issues with the driver. So your BIOS are gonna be different. This is a Gigabyte motherboard, so I have to hit F2 to get out of that window and F2 to get out of that window. But essentially, once you're under BIOS, I'm not sure where yours is gonna be, but in my case, mine's under BIOS features. I think you want to make sure to disable Secure Boot. So in my case, it'll say it's disabled, but you can't really adjust it. So I think sometimes it's set to other OS, and when you have other OS on, you're not going to see any options to change Secure Boot. So you need to switch to Windows 8, and then if you go down, the Secure Boot option will now appear, and then you can just make sure it's disabled. Once it's disabled, just save and exit, reset. Okay, so let's done booting up. Alright, so once you get to this screen, yours is probably a little bit different. Again, it's because I've already installed these. You're going to want to do Control Alt and then F3, and this will open up a terminal. You're going to want to log in here. And then once you log in, what you're going to want to do is just navigate to your downloads folder. So just do a CD, whatever that little squiggly line is called, and then do downloads. And then if you do an ls-la, you should see your driver downloaded right there. Mine's green because I've already given it permission to execute. So to do that, you're going to want to do sudo chmod, make it executable, and then type in NVIDIA. Once you run that command, sorry, gotta typing with one hand right now, it's kind of hard. Once you do that, then you do a sudo. Actually, now if you were to do an LSS-LA, you should see that it's green. Then you can just do a sudo /NVIDIA, tab it over, hit enter. Okay, and once you do that, the steps are just all done. All you have to do is hit yes to everything. In my case, it's gonna pop up with this, but that's because I already have it installed. But once you go through those steps, and it's complete, and you get back to the terminal, if you want to check that it worked correctly, just type in NVIDIA and type in SMI. And this will output some information here, and what you'll see is I now have driver version 430.26, and everything's all good. So now I just do a sudo shutdown, restart, no. The way to check to see if everything installed correctly, all you have to do is do NVIDIA -SMI, if it'll focus, and there you go, your driver's now installed.